Oh, hello. Welcome back to Dean's Fab Shop. Today we're going to be making a roll-around workbench for my shop. I've been needing one. My next few videos coming up will be me making roll-around carts for various tools that I have, like tubing bender, shrieker and stretcher, plasma cutter, whatever else I need a roll-around cart with. So today we're going to start on that. Be made out of some 1/8" plate that I had laying around, and with some 2x2 legs. And let's get started on this thing. I can't wait. Enjoy. Here's the 1/8" plate that I said I was going to make it out of. It's a big piece of plate that I had laying around. It was rusty. Only thing I could get out of it was like 2'6" by 4'1" is what it's going to be. I took some wire brushes, put them on the grinder, and cleaned all the rust off real good and cleaned it off. So I got to wipe it off with some lacquer thinner. But I'm going to start cutting up some legs for it out of 2" square tubing and get those all cleaned up and start squaring everything up and getting going on this thing. All right, like I said, we're going to start out by cutting the legs for it. Here's what it's going to end up being. I decided with the 1/8" plate that I had, I only had so much I could work with. So I'm going to make it 2'6" wide by 49.5" long. I need to cut 4 2x2s, 3 feet long, as you see the 2x2 over here. So I'm going to cut that up. It's going to end up being 3 feet 4 inches tall total. That's with the rollers. I've got these rollers here I'm going to put on it. They're rated at 125 pounds, so 125 times 4. I think we should be good. Actually, these are the heaviest ones that I could find at the moment where I went to. So let's get all these cut up and cleaned up as we go and get ready to start squaring these up and welding them on. Y'all probably noticed the front of this car. It's my brother-in-law's 1986 El Camino. It's in pretty darn good shape. It's all there, no rust. This is a very nice car. I've been doing a little bit of work to it, trying to get the wipers to work on it. I think I've got it figured out. But anyway, I wanted to make sure I covered it up because I don't want to get any grinding dust or damage this thing in any way. It's pretty nice. Like I said before, I like to clean and sand everything that I cut as I cut it. I do that for 2 reasons. One, the cleaner metal is a better weld. And 2, I won't have to sand it before I paint it. So that's what I'm doing. All right, let's get all these done and we'll go to our next step. I finally got all the 2x2s cleaned up. I wasn't going to show y'all that whole process of doing all 4 of them. That would be boring. So I'm going to square them up and tack them on each corner. After that, I'm going to cut some more of the 2x2 and fit it in here to there on both sides, and then the front and back from here over to here. So let's get all this tacked on and cut those other ones out and clean them up, and we'll see where we're at there. Okay, we're finally to the point where we're getting ready to do some tacking on here. I'm going to fire up our old 240 volt Lincoln 180 here and fuse some steel together. I ended up taking some 3/4 solid stock that I had and cut a little bit off and ground the paint off of it. I tacked it to the table, and that should now take care of our ground problem. So I will go back later, cut that little tack weld off, grind that down, and we'll be good to go. I went ahead and got all the square tubing cut to put on the sides and on the ends. And what I did here, if you notice, I've already welded the legs on the inside. So all you gotta do is you notch one end of it so it goes over the weld. And that way there, it'll still fit in there good. Just like so. You know, you could have just left the insides unwelded and wouldn't have had to notch the tube, and it would have been fine. Still would have been plenty of weld, but I just welded them all solid and just notched the tubing right there. So let's get these welded in, and I may start on putting the 1-inch square tubing for some plywood to sit on around here to make sure the legs are squared up. Then I'll go on and I'll put some bracing in between it all. I got all my pieces cut. The ones that's gonna go in between here, 1-inch square tubing. I also measured out where I needed my vise to go. I like my vise to be on the right side of the table, which when this is turned up on its wheels, it will be on the right side. That's where my vise is gonna mount. I have to weld all that in. It's mounted on my TIG table right now. I've been wanting to move it. And I've got the braces to go between all the legs, and those braces are, you know, they'll brace it up, plus I will put some plywood on it, some 3/4 inch thick plywood. Whether I can set stuff in there or whatever. That's where I plan on storing all my electrical tools. So anyway, I want to get all this here put in, tacked in, welded in. Then we'll go on to the feet, the rollers. Got everything made and tacked in now. I'm ready to start welding it all up. I think everything is basically done except for the rollers and the mounts for the rollers. So we're gonna get this thing all welded up now. I put it on one of my little rollers that I have to roll around cars in the shop with that don't run. So that'll make it real handy. Just turn it around, weld where I need to weld. So I'm ready to get this thing welded up so we can start on the rollers. Let's do it. All right, I decided before I put the rollers on it, I'm gonna put a few accessories on it while it's upside down. So what I'm gonna do is I got a couple of pieces, 3/4 square tubing, 3 inches long. I'm gonna weld one right there, so that way there I can hook my ground to it for the welder. I'll put another one over there by where the vise is gonna be. And also I've got this piece of 1-inch stainless tube right here. I'm gonna weld it in right here, right there across the end right here. Over there I'll be able to hang all my clamps on it. You know, I have them handy for me. And also what I'm wanting to do is I want to put an outlet on it over there by the vise. I've got a new cord for it. Where there we'll just plug this into the wall. Then all the power tools we use would just plug into this right here at the table. But I'm going to change the cord out because this one don't have a ground on it. So I'm going to get those welded on, and then maybe after that we can start on the rollers. Oh, one other thing before I weld these on, and this has probably happened to everybody out there, but all in one day, I ran out of welding wire, my angle grinder burned up, my gas bottle on my welder was almost empty, and I broke a blade on my port band. all it seems like within a half an hour. Maybe today will be a better day. Next up, we need to draw out all of our mounts for the casters. I've got some 1/8" plate I'm going to use. I'll just set them on here and draw them out. And then I'm going to take a cutting wheel and cut them all out. I'll probably just weld these on. I'm not going to spend the time to drill all the holes and bolt them on. I'm just going to weld them on, and if I ever need to replace them, I can just grind some weld off. I think that'll be the easiest thing, the quickest thing for me to do. All right, so now we'll change to the flapper disc. Take off the cutting wheel, and we're going to clean it all up. All right, I believe that'll work. I hate sharp corners on everything, and I mean everything. I like to round everything. I mean, limits the chance of getting hurt, you know what I mean? I hate sharp corners. It don't matter what project it is. Round them. Looks so much better. All right, I got the legs all squared up. It's time to get these caster mounts tacked on and welded on, and then try to get the casters put on it. Maybe we can flip it over, make sure it's square. All right, I'm gonna flip this thing over so I don't have to weld upside down. We'll finish welding it out. What I think I might do first though is go ahead and tack the casters on it too. That'll all be good. If I ever need to replace one, just grind these welds off and it'll pop right off of there. A lot quicker than drilling a bunch of holes and bolting it, although it's probably the right way to do it. But this will be fine. Next time we may go with some heavier wheels. These are 125 pound rated a piece, so it adds up to 500 pounds. We should be okay. Thought before I flipped it over, I put a little bit of wheel bearing grease in these bearings right here. I got these from Harbor Freight. Probably not the best ones out there, but that's where I got them. So I'm gonna put a little bit of wheel bearing grease in here just to make sure everything works free when I do flip it over. Just mash it in there. All right, we finally got it all welded up. Got it on its wheels. So far, so good. It's all rolling around really good. What I'm gonna do next is, remember I said I was gonna put an outlet on it? A 2-prong outlet. Well, I decided I'm gonna go with a cord strip. It's the right thing to do, you know. So what I'm gonna do here, it's kind of hard to mount this thing, you know, to metal or whatever with all these little mounting holes. I mean, I could, you know, take it apart and pop rivet it right under here, but it would be, you know, it would be wiggly, you know, it would break apart, I think. So what I'm gonna do is, I got this piece of metal, which is the same length as the cord strip and the same width as the piece of wood I've got. I'm going to weld it underneath there on the far inside. Then after that, I'm gonna take this piece of wood here and bolt it to the plate, and I will countersink some bolts in it so it's flush. And the only thing I know to do then is I will put some screws in it that match up with these right here, and I'll just be able to put it on that piece of wood and then slide it back on the screws, and it'll be solid. And that way there, if this thing goes bad, I can take it off and get a new one. And if they don't have the same bolt pattern, well, screw pattern, whatever, well, I'll just make some new holes in the wood. So let's get all that welded on right here, and the piece of wood put on. Then I'll put the cord strip on it. And what I'll do is I'll take the cord strip cord and just run it along here with zip ties and put my extension cord onto it. And that's what we'll have. So let's get all that on there. All right, here's what I ended up with. As you can see, I put some 1/4-inch bolts in it. I countersunk them so the cord strip would fit flush. What I ended up doing, instead of, you know, figuring, you know, these screws right here, trying to get them lined up perfectly, which is a pain in the rear, you know that. What I'm gonna do is I just drilled 4 holes here. And whenever I put this on, I just put it on with zip ties, and that'll hold it on good and tight right there. So that's all I really needed. But anyway, what I'm gonna do next is I took this vise off of my TIG table, which I've been wanting to get it off of there anyway. Been waiting to get this workbench built. I'm gonna mount this vise to this table. If you remember, I made all these mounts for it right here, so it would be nice and strong. So now what I gotta do is I have to line up all these holes, these 3 holes in this vise. I have to line them up with the square tubing on the bottom to make sure I drill the holes in the center of that square tubing. So I'm gonna spend a little time here getting all this measured up, marked up, and drill these holes for this vise and go ahead and get it bolted on there. So let's get that done. Well, the vise is all mounted on. Of course, I left the bolts loose because I gotta take it all apart to paint it. But I made some, these right here. I'm gonna use these for cord wraps, because over here is where the cord strip's gonna be mounted. So I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna weld one right in here and then one right in here. That's what I'll wrap my extension cord on. But as I was making those, I made them in the vise here. Started coming up with some new things I wanted to do. You always think of different things you want to do on a project as you're doing it, such as I was doing some welding on the vise and I wasn't done yet, so set that there, kept wanting to fall off. I'm like, dang. So what I'm gonna do is, I got a little piece of tubing here. I'm just gonna weld it on right there. And then I'm just gonna stick the welding gun down in that and just take it out, use it whenever. You want to pick it up off the floor, take a chance on breaking this thing. So I'm gonna weld that on it. Also, while I was at it, I wanted to take some, had some exhaust tubing here. I'm gonna weld it right in here, either like that or like that or like that, however. But I got some cordless drills. And I just weld that on and just stick them right in there like that. However I do, I may do it straight up, may do it at an angle, I don't know. Let's get all that stuff welded on, and then I think I'm ready to take the vise off and get this thing painted. All the little accessories are welded on. Of course, I got my cord wrap. That'll work all right. I've got a place to put my cordless drills now. I had a place before, but I just thought this was cool. and a little place to hold my gun. So it's all welded on. And like I said before, time to take it apart, get this thing painted. And after it's all done, I'm gonna get a piece of 3/4 plywood and cut out, put right down in there. So let's do all that painting right now and get it over with. It's what I had, but never used the real wide pattern spray stuff on stuff like this. Use this. Anyway, it's covered. Let that set up for a day or two, and we'll cut some wood for it. I've got it laying right here. All right, we got it all painted up. If you all noticed, I forgot to tape off my ground studs right here. So I had to grind the paint off of them. So now let's put this thing together. I'm gonna put the vise on it, all the clamps in place, the cord strip, and whatever else I'm gonna put in here. I think I'm gonna put all the electrical stuff down on the bottom. I've been leaving it on my toolbox, so get that down there. Let's get this bad boy together, see what she looks like. Well, that'll do it on this one. Finally got it done. I'm real happy with it. It'll do what I need it to do. Stay with me as I'm going to be making some more roll around carts for some other stuff that I have, like I've talked about before. That'll be my next upcoming video. So if you don't mind, subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment if you have any questions. If you want to teach me something or anything else, it doesn't matter. But anyway, like I said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.